Segment 2, Gold and Black Live. It's not a disparaging remark to Brian, but we've upgraded to some extent with Morgan Burke here and Stacey Clarity.
Not fair to Brian.
I just said I'm staying positive today on all fronts. We do want to thank our sponsors, Hilton Garden Inn and Christy Kuntz and our good friends down there. When tomorrow's a big day, stay at HGI tonight, and of course Follett's Purdue Pride, Jeff Julich and the gang, Purdue's game day outfitter since 1945, and they'll be open early and late tomorrow at at all their stores, but obviously at the stadium as well. A lot going on with them, and of course State Farm agent Trent Johnson and TrentIsMyAgent.com. We always give Trent, we always know he's on the road Friday nights doing a high school football game somewhere, one of the finest officials. It's amazing. I only thing I was bothering Trent about, I said, why didn't you get the gig as an NFL replacement official? But he hasn't had an answer for that. I think the insurance business is too good for him. But Morgan, welcome to the show, and we always appreciate during your busy schedule that you take time to join us. And it's been just a quiet, really not a lot going on here at all the last few weeks.
Well, we had a good start to the year. Notre Dame game, you wish 2 or 3 plays would have been a little bit differently, but compared to the team that we put on the field in Ross-Ade last year, which was a major disappointment, this team was significantly improved. We expected them to be, and they were. And a play here or there, it could have been a different outcome. But more importantly, I think we're beginning to see some of these kids now that are in their first, second, third year of eligibility can play. And the challenge now is to continue to use that last week as a launch point to get better, and I think they will. And there's been a lot of talk about the 2 quarterback thing. I kind of marvel at it. We got 3 quarterbacks that are all talented. 2 of them have had 3 ACLs. Mm-hmm. I mean, you just got to be prepared. And Danny uses the analogy of a white flag, but he's really just trying to say, look, we've got to make sure. And if we don't have Caleb Turbush there in that last drive, that's a pressure-packed 4th down play. I'm not sure the kid who hadn't played much could have come in and made that play. So I felt sick for Robert Meyer. I have a lot of respect for that kid. He had some struggles when he was down at Miami, came here, he'd done everything we've asked him to do. He graduated from Purdue. And, the way he handled the press on Sunday, to me, showed a level of maturity that he wasn't going to let his misfortune detract from the team. So I give him a lot of credit.
Yeah, and you look at that in the quarterback situation, and Robert, it seems already talking about doing what he can to get back, knowing whether that's going to be able to happen or not. You don't know, but here's a guy that's hopefully going to be able to find his way back to the lineup sooner than later, and he's talking about possibly making it this year.
Well, he's going to try. I mean, I'm leery, and we certainly want to do what's right by him. Our medical personnel weigh in first, and then as long as they believe it's safe. But the knee won't bother him if he's going forward and back. It's the lateral stuff that creates the issue. He has a powerful arm, and even if he's just a positive influence, he's one of those guys on the sidelines that's always patting people on the back and stuff like that. And as we go through the season, you're going to go through your ups and downs. A guy like that can be very important whether he's on the field or not. But if he gets a chance to play some more, it'd be great. But clearly, he'll be one of those people in the Purdue history who always say, "Geez, what if he'd have been healthy?" And I guess we'll never know that.
Yeah, no question.
Obviously, the hot topic is Notre Dame and the ACC and how that would potentially affect your scheduling with them. Can you just kind of give everyone an update? You have contract through 13 and 14. Is that correct?
Yeah, let me explain that. We have a letter agreement that goes out to 21. That's kind of the way it's always been done. It predates me. The reason you have a letter agreement is lays the dates out is that we've generally gone in 10-year cycles, and when you get up towards the end of the last 10-year period, you generally at that point in time agree how much money you're going to share back and forth. So that's why it hasn't been consummated. So I don't anticipate any difficulty. We're 2 state institutions. I think the state of Indiana likes the fact, I know my new boss likes the fact that we play each other. We play each other in a lot of sports. We have common values. So, we'll see. I know there's a lot of speculation out there, but that's what it is, speculation.
Yeah. Which brings to mind your new boss, Mitch Daniels, and he's not your new boss just, well, he is, but he won't be starting until January 1st.
I got 2 bosses.
Yeah.
3 counting my wife.
Yeah, it's just what you need.
Yeah.
But obviously the governor of the state of Indiana brings and soon to be president of Purdue University brings an energy level. You've obviously had to, this will be your fourth president. I was thinking about that in terms of Purdue athletic directors. I think since 1942, really, there have been three. I mean, outside of John Hicks. It's pretty impressive that between Red Mackey, George King, and Morgan Burke, that you've outlasted a lot of presidents. But really, it's a transition time for you, and to have a new boss come in, because everybody's different. And we know Mitch Daniels likes athletics and is a very, very competitive person. But talk a little bit about that and what you look forward to.
I'm looking forward to it. I mean, my first, I had the opportunity to serve on the University Search Committee, and that was I enjoyed that. And so I got a chance to meet him and have some private conversation about athletics. He's quick. He processes information very quickly. He likes the fact that we're self-supporting.
Yeah, he does.
Reserves are not a dirty word to him. I wanted to make sure those weren't underperforming assets,
I hear you.
and he understands that. So he likes that. He did ask me a little bit about our academic course work that the kids take, and I think he was impressed. I make an annual report each year to the Faculty Senate, and it goes into a lot of detail. It's up on the web for anybody who wants to look at it. But it goes into the what majors our kids are in, what colleges they're in, like. So he liked that. That was important to him. He understands that at Purdue they are going to have to be students and athletes. He liked the 25-85. He realizes it's symbolic, but it's pressuring for both features. I think he thought that was important. And integrity is a big deal to him. We asked, when we had the Dwayne Beckford situation, he wanted to know how we handled those situations, which, they're sad. That's what I told him first of all, they're sad. I said our philosophy is to be fair but firm. So, to me, I want to have those kinds of conversations, and I know that he wants to, in everything he does, be the very best you can be, and I think this is the right person at the right time for where we are within athletics. Certainly that case can be made for the university as a whole.
Yeah, and he's obviously working hard, it appears, to get up to speed to what he has to do this job, and it's not an easy job.
No, and I think he's appropriately spent time, a lot of time with the faculty and with the students. I think there's always that fear that, I was a non-traditional candidate too, Alan. I didn't come out of the athletic director mold. An awful lot of people were concerned, coaches, when it first came down, about whether I'd be able to adapt. And I think he'll have great success once people begin to see that he's here to help produce results. He wants to create the platform for professors and students and others to be successful. So I think in this day and age, he'll be a bright light for the state of Indiana, for Purdue. I think red and white is out of his closet. His wife, Sherry's got gold and black clothes. Kate made sure of that. So we're looking forward to welcoming them both down as they begin the next tenure in January. We really appreciate Tim Sands and Laura. I was so many things that he does that are just very special. A little thing, but a big thing to me. When we went up and played in Gary, he and his wife drove up on a Friday night and stayed through most of that 23-inning game to see our kids play. And I thought, he doesn't have to do that. He wasn't acting president at the time, but he knew that Dr. Cordova had a prior conflict, so he was there. I thought, and it means a lot to the kids when they can see occasionally. They know how busy a president is. So we've got a great 1-2 punch there.
Yeah.
I'm going back to the schedule. You and I talked about this 3 weeks ago, I think, along those lines, and you had mentioned Colorado and Missouri and Nevada, maybe. Are you entering any other kind of discussions at this point, or is that pretty much up to date?
Those are the ones right now. I think we're close to finalizing one with Western Michigan. I think that's in 2014. If we do that, then 13, 14, 15, and 16 are pretty much done. We are sharing information with Nevada. We think Reno would be kind of a fun spot for Purdue people, so we're exploring a home and away with them. I've had some discussions with Colorado. We're trying to do something in 17 and 20. They would return in 20. And then we've had some discussions with Missouri. But as I told you, Stacy, we would like to have 2 schools each year from the major conferences. And I don't say that to be disparaging to the MAC schools, but I think our fans want to see a Pac-12, a Big 12, an SEC, an ACC, maybe a Big East opponent. And that doesn't mean that we're not going to play schools in our own backyard. We are, and certainly the MAC schools we know are no easy opponents. But But our people are used to having a MAC opponent or
Right.
two in their roster, and I don't think people object to that. They've been good competition, but they want to see some different opponents. So we're gonna try to mix that up and get that done. We've been delayed until we decide whether we're going to be at 8 games or 9 games in the Big Ten. Now we're going to stay at 8.
Yeah, and that's been that's definite now. You are definitely going to
Yes.
stay at 8. So
Yes.
and that's an interesting or
At least this
important
year.
development. Yeah.
but we're all scheduled. We're all. It's these schedules, to do them right. You want to get them out 8, 10 years, and that's just the way you schedule football. And we're all now going out past 17. So if there's any change down the road, it would have to be into the next decade.
Obviously, fan attendance is and we got a question about the importance of getting fans back to Ross-Ade Stadium in droves. And you've said many times that good marketing can give you 5, 10, 12% or whatever that percentage is. You need winning football. But any other things that you see that are essential to getting those crowds, getting that ticket base back in the 30s and then 40,000, back up to where it was, made 43,000 at one point in time.
Well, I think one thing that's been will be a leading indicator is the fact that our 3-game mini packages have jumped fourfold from about 400 to 1,600. To me, those are people who are probably prior season ticket holders who are putting their toe back in the water, and so I think that's a good indication. I think that people, just monitoring the traffic that you guys get and other feedback we get, people can see the talent. And right now we can't allow it to be a distraction, so that we, kind of get into this. Well, why can't? If we play well, I'm sure people will be back. And our problem has been and continues to be that I honestly believe the proliferation of television now has gotten to the point where it is eating some of your gate. Major League Baseball probably has it right. It's probably the better the venue, the smaller the venue, the better off you are. I think if you go around the country, people are declaring sellouts, and yet I see lots of empty seats.
Yeah.
So I think there's some funny mathematics going on. The reality is we've got 2 areas that are a struggle: the north end zone, the south end zone. We want to study it. I've had some people say, "Well, you're gonna knock the families out." No, we're not. We have plenty of room in the North Horseshoe to offer the same kind of packages that we've done in the south end zone. We'll not do that. We're going to have a way to bring families, into the stadium. But you have to create an experience that people say, I'm going to invest not only the money, but I'm going to invest more than 3 hours. I want to make a day of it. And so we've got to make sure that all the elements around the stadium are right. And I'm excited. Last home game it rained, so the Boilermaker crossing didn't really come into fruition. This game will be out. There'll be some live music, some other stuff. It'll cause the whole. You guys have broadcast the pregame out there for years. Just have more activity. It'd be more fun. So, we'll keep doing the marketing stuff, and we'll keep looking for different things that we can do that will be encouraging for people. The team's got to play well, and then we can't get focused on worrying about, what are we doing wrong or right. We're doing all the things right now I think we need to do. We need to play consistently well, and tomorrow's another opportunity for us.
Okay. You get one more question, and then we're kicking you off, so go ahead.
Just in terms of the progress of the football program, I mean, obviously winning is huge, but behind the scenes things, the academics and the GPA, and in terms of where that's headed and the progress that's been made in kind of those other areas, are you pleased?
Yeah, I honestly believe that, again, if we go back in time, first year he came in was the year that, Joey Elliott and those kids were all seniors, and we got really good towards the end of the year. We lost some games at Oregon and Notre Dame that were tough games. He had to hit that on the screws. The second year was the mulligan year when you had all the injuries, and the third year, you got back onto the ladder. It wasn't the highest rung, but you're back on the ladder. But the most important thing is 2 years ago, when after the Joey Elliott group had retired, our 2 deep roster is 59% upperclassmen. He was playing a ton of young kids. And part of that was because back in 2007, we recruited a bunch of junior college players. Hindsight, maybe that wasn't the right thing to do. So you're going to push kids through the system faster. This past year, we got back into postseason. We were up to about 70%. Now, if you look at the 2 deep roster, you guys and the folks watching can run the calculations. Depending upon who's in there in any given week, it looks like you're in the high 70s on offense and over 90 on defense. Now, I think there is a correlation. I think most of the time, if you have talent and you're at least 80% or more of your 2-deep roster, or third or fourth year, plus the stars, Raheem Mosterts and Keem Hunt's kids, you're going to have an opportunity to be pretty good. So I'm not surprised that we're playing better. Now I want to see, it's one thing to have a better roster, the next thing is you got to convert it into consistent performance in the field. And that's where we were short last year.
All right, well, we're going to take a 2-minute break and bring in Kyle Charters. We're going to talk a little bit about facilities, but also the baseball facility, something near and dear to both Morgan and Kyle's heart in terms of what's been done at Alexander Field, and everybody looking forward to the opening of the 2013 baseball season. So we'll hit that and many more topics and your questions when we rejoin you in a couple minutes on Gold and Black Live.
Going to the Purdue game? Stay at Hilton Garden Inn, West Lafayette at the Wabash Landing. Your family will love the well-appointed guest rooms, the pool, whirlpool, fitness center, the breakfast buffet, and the amazing Hilton Garden Inn staff. Located just 4 blocks from Purdue University, Hilton Garden Inn has long been the choice for Purdue fans. Call today for a reservation and make Hilton Garden Inn your #1 choice.
Check out the Purdue collection now at Follett's. Boiler up with Nike Fantastic T-shirts, League and Champion fashion colors. Simply fabulous, simply Follett's. Purdue pride everywhere on game day. Nike sideline, worn by the team, by the players, and by you. And make every day game day with tailgate toss. Follett's, Purdue pride, a Purdue tradition, 17 game day locations.
Good driver? We've got a discount for that and a lot more. See State Farm agent Trent Johnson to make sure you get all the discounts you deserve on your car insurance. Saving you money? It's just part of being there. Call or visit Trent today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
It's a Friday Night Frenzy. It's about tradition. It's about pride. It's about rivalries. It's about commitment. It's about teamwork. It's about the action of the game. On Friday nights, when area high school teams hit the field for the game, our team hits the field to get you the scores, the highlights, and all of the action. Friday Night Frenzy, a high school tradition.
I know, I better. All right, we're live. We didn't say anything else. Stacy told us to watch for the light because Kim said she's going to turn it on. This is segment 3 of Gold and Black Live, and we really do. We try to act professional in here, and most of the time we do. And luckily, we didn't say anything. We don't say anything that we can't share with everybody anyway. You are watching our fine show. Morgan Burke, Kyle Charters on our far right. We were having a very good conversation about city planning and 231 and what the future of West Lafayette and Purdue University is going to look like. And it was really interesting. Hopefully you caught some of it. Our sponsors, Hilton Garden Inn, State Farm agent Trent Johnson, and of course our friends with Follett's Purdue Pride. And Morgan, I know that you had said about Alexander Field that your wife Kate's remark was and that's a good litmus test of what a facility is like in terms of wow factor. She said this literally, to use a bad pun, knocked one out of the park. It's really a phenomenal facility.
Well, you know, we've tried. This has been a 20-year journey, and I know that our Boilermaker fans probably think that's all I do is try to build facilities. But all we've tried to do is remove the obvious deficiencies. And you know, Kyle, you've done baseball games out at Lambert Field for years. Probably the best playing surface, or one of the best in the league. But you know, there's no
there's
amenities.
no personality.
No, there's nothing. And so, you know, as we've tried to work our way through these projects, we've tried to make sure each one of them is done in a way that's contemporary, gives the coaches what they need to be successful. And I don't think we've gone over the top, but we've tried to benchmark. We went out and Doug Schreiber and Steve Zimmerman and the team took several visits to other universities to kind of get a sense. Rob Clatty did the same thing for soccer. So, you know, I want to build these things, or we want to build them so they'll last, they have a good look and feel to them. And I think when people come out to the baseball park, they're going to say, wow, this is the right, we did it right.
What I'm impressed with, and I don't know exactly how you broke it down money-wise between soccer and baseball, but to me, for the dollar, you got a lot of bang out of Alexander, in my opinion, because, you know, I've seen a lot of the other newer facilities around the Big Ten. And to me, it, you know, for the money you spend, it stacks right up there with all of those. And, you know, that's pretty impressive what you got, you know, I think out of the whole deal.
Well, I think both those facilities were done right. Our hope is that we can get softball out there as quickly as we can. We're working through the planning process on that now. That'll pretty much complete the cycle. We certainly have work to do in the stadium, as we talked in the last segment, but this, I think, once we get the infrastructure out there, some of the landscaping done, I think people will really enjoy it. And you know, when you see the team, I mean, you know, Perkins and Pilecki, I said, I'm sorry, guys, because I really wanted them to have a Mascarello and the rest of them, Joe Hayes. I wanted them to have a chance. We just weren't quite ready yet. But I think we have what we need: the batting cages, the other stuff that you need. You know, heated dugouts. My God, restrooms.
Those
Dugouts,
by the way, are bigger than any major league dugout. I think they're huge.
Yeah, I mean it will be good to. I want to bring the wooden bat league here personally. I've been asked about that already, but
well, I know you've already gotten 120 season tickets, and I think they had 17 people had purchased season tickets a year ago, and the big day is next Saturday on the 22nd. So an opportunity to get. You know, you basically sold 120 on the JPC day. I know you had out there, which wasn't even really the intent necessarily, but you know, you can do a pretty good drive. It seems like to get the community involved.
And I think the prices are really an easy price point. I think it's $60. I don't know what exactly it is, but it's not a lot. The intent is to try to provide something that you can get the family out to. And I think that the big event is next Saturday, the 22nd, bye week for football. And they're going to do tours and the like, so that people get a chance. Everybody that's come out, I mean, we've maintained the same dimensions we had at Lambert Field, so there's no cheap home runs.
Yeah.
So when we're recruiting pitchers, they like that because they feel like they've at least got some help there. But then Schreiber's quick to point out the wind is normally coming out of the south, so if it's a hitter, they got a chance to get it out.
You know, you look at this, and we had a comment from somebody said he wanting a party deck, kind of like Wrigley Field bleachers. There really is. The thing I was impressed by is there is room on outside of first base, third base, just large areas where if you were going to do something like that, you have some room to grow into some things. Not only do you have the permanent seats, but there's room to move, so to speak.
And that was really by design because you have to have 2,500 seats in order to be able to host an NCAA regional. And this gives us two cement platforms that right now would be like a standing concourse area, but you could put temporary bleachers in there or permanent at some point in time out there. So I think it will be an environment that the students will enjoy. I think the town will enjoy it. And I think it'll help youth baseball a little bit in this community too, because I think we saw that when we built the aquatic center. It had a huge impact on diving and swimming in this area. I think it'll have kind of a spillover effect into local youth baseball.
Well, a question we had also about going back to football in the south end zone. You talked about that. You've been talking about that over time in terms of studying what you want to do with that. There's a myriad of things you could do. What's on at least on the thought process?
I think what people have to understand is there's probably three pieces to that project. First of all, is we have to do some things that aren't very exciting. We need to sandblast, I'm going to use that term generically, the metal shell underneath the stadium and repaint that. That's just routine maintenance, and I hate to tell people, but it's been 10, 11 years since we did the major project. So that's not an inexpensive proposition. Secondly, in the southeast and southwest corner, as you come down the hill, you've got some concrete slabs that are holding up that metal deck, and they've shown some wear and tear. We knew back in 2000 we probably had 15, 18 years before we'd have to go in there and do renovation. Well, we're at that time. So both those things have to be done. And I think the scoreboard will, by the next couple of years, be about 7 or 8 years old. We're on our second generation. So it's getting ready. So that to me is the time. The bleachers are originally from Lambert Field, or from Lambert Fieldhouse. They've obviously been refurbished. Let's get them out of there, and then I want to bring an architect in to say what's possible. There was a great rendition that was up on your site. We'll give that to the architect. We have one of our own that HNTB did, and you'll look at how you do space. And what it'll do is, if the project comes together, your capacity will drop to 56.5. We have ample room in the North Horseshoe, but instead of having 48,000 or 50,000, and you got this big hole, it's going to look full. And that's what recruits want, that's what fans want. Ultimately, I still think the deck on the east side of the stadium is where you got to get to. But we've got to have some sustained success with the team to get that level. So, I originally was hoping we could go right to the deck. We're going to have to break it into pieces, but I don't give up on the long-term vision. But I think you've got some interim steps that probably need to be done this decade. Whether you get to the deck in this decade, remains to be seen. But we have to look at that south end zone. And I think you have to look at not only the scoreboard, which I would like to see rectangular, bring it up closer to the stadium. I'd like it to go goal line or sideline to sideline, so you really can I think keep the fans engaged. You've got to have some type of better, maybe not a video board, but something in the north end zone. And whether that's a ribbon for scores, I don't know. We'll have to ask. But that's why I want to study it. I mean, we don't have a design. We don't have the answer yet. We may come back and say we're not going to do anything. But we will have to do the concrete eventually. That has to be done. Well, if you're going to dig up, that's a messy job. When you do that, you might as well do the south end zone.
Well, I know you had an experience of a lifetime being able to go to the Olympics, and I want to ask you about that. And obviously the great moment that David Boudia provided not only Purdue people, but obviously people in the United States with a magical time. But this men's basketball, we're getting several questions about what will be an interesting year this year, a very transition year, very different basketball team. They were in Italy while you were at the Olympics, but talk a little bit about Matt Painter's program and where you hope it will be this year, but also how it's evolving.
Well, there's a lot of unknowns. I mean, over the last few years, you've had a Hummel, and you've had an Etuan, you had a Jawan, you had a Lewis. Kind of had some parts you knew how they could perform. Now, we certainly know that DJ Byrne had a breakthrough year last year. Corone Johnson's just one of those guys. He may not be pretty, but he gets it done. He gets it done, and he's fearless, and he's won a lot of basketball games over time. I think the big guys, Sunday and Travis, got much better throughout the year. They have to get better. Certainly Sunday played very well against Kansas and continued that when they were in Italy, from all the reports I got. Ronnie Johnson's going to get a chance to play a lot of basketball. I was with his AD at a meeting here in Central Indiana this week, and he just raved about it. He says, "You're never going to regret this one." He says, "This kid is He is exactly what you'll need. He'll play, but he'll also represent your institution with class. And he's gotten off to a good start. You got Raphael Davis, you've got the big kid A.J. Hammond, you got Jay Simpson we haven't seen much of yet. So you got a lot of parts. Anthony Johnson's got to continue to elevate his game. You got to be able to score from the perimeter, but we're not going to go into Wisconsin anymore undersized. So when they bring out those big boys, we're going to match up, and we're going to to the extent that we could add a real post presence. I mean, that means probably 5–10% to your shooting percentages. You have one of those nights when you're not shooting well from three-point land. We had a couple of those last year. We didn't have much of an option to get in down low. So I'm kind of encouraged. We're going to see how they play. They may give some bumps and ups and downs, but he's got a good, steady pipeline of talent. But we're going to go through a year where we're probably going to be, I guess, in the preseason, we'll be one of those ones that they won't be able to rank you very high because they don't know you. Yeah. And so you're going to have to play your way up the ladder, but I think they will.
Yeah. So what was London like? We got to watch on tape delay after most of us knew what the results were, but you got to be there in the diving pool
I would say a couple of things, Kyle. One, I commend the people in London. The volunteers, they reported to have 70,000 volunteers. You would go to a venue and they would literally have a half a mile of volunteers on each side of the road, all dressed the same. And they were funny and pleasant. It really was a wonderful experience. In terms of David, we took 22 John Purdue Club people with us. And so we're in a pub and having a libation or two. And we're watching the diving, and this is Dr. Beering.
Right, this is for the preliminary. Yeah. You didn't have tickets.
We didn't have tickets. So it's his 80th birthday. So we're having a fine time. All of a sudden, I look up and I go, "Oh no, he missed the dive." I'm thinking. So I mean, my heart's I kind of sunk, and so he gets in, and then we have tickets for the next two rounds, the semifinals and finals, and. He always does his first dive as a handstand on 10 meters. And I can't do a handstand on the ground, let alone if you're 10 meters above the water. You're going to hit that water at 35 miles an hour. So, I mean, this is a contact sport, in my opinion. Anyway, he nails that, works his way up through, and then he gets to the last dive. Tom Daly is the Justin Bieber of London. Yeah. I mean, they love him. Yeah. I mean, he is just handsome, good looking, the whole 9 yards. He's in first place. He does a good dive, but it's a low degree of difficulty. So I'm looking at Kate. I said, you know what? I think we're going to get a medal out of this. Then it's down to the Chubo or whatever his name from China and David. They both did the same dive. David obviously did a little better. And I remember looking over at Kate after David's dive before Chubo dived, and I said, you know what? He's going to get second. Mm-hmm. And after Chubo did his dive, Kate looked over and he says, well, big boy, you just got a gold. Yeah. So it was certainly fun, and the last thing I would tell our viewing audience is he goes down in the medal ceremony and he's on the medal platform, and we had a Purdue flag, and he saw us, and he gave it one of these. Yeah. And you thought, you know what, this is why we do the jobs we do. Yeah,
and it kind of came full circle from that standpoint to have that happen, and the impact of David Bodiah, but also of the Rob Hubbells of the world, and the Drew Breeses and the Ryan Kerrigans. You've got some guys that have meant a lot to not only to Purdue athletics, but to people around this community and state. All right, we have run out of time. We could keep you another hour, but I know you have a meeting upcoming, and you have probably even slightly more important things to do than to hang with us. But we'll have you back on probably in the spring and talk about what has transpired. So thank you all for hanging with us. We will also, if you didn't see the entire show, we'll archive it, put it up on the site this evening. And a very interesting conversation. Thanks again to Morgan and to Kyle Charters. And we'll thank our sponsors, Hilton Garden Inn, State Farm agent Trent Johnson, and of course, Follett's Purdue Pride. Purdue football tomorrow, noon, kickoff, plenty of tickets available. It's going to be a great day because the weather is cleared here in West Lafayette. We're going to have a great sunny day for college football tomorrow, so hope to see you at Ross-Ade Stadium. And thanks also to Lydia and to Kim and to Gordon and everybody back at WLFI, where we were honored to be the first to be on your set. We didn't wreck it yet, and of course it will open next week on the local news channel, so to speak, and we're privileged to be able to test it out. So we'll look forward to seeing you not in 1 week, but in 2 weeks for Gold and Black Live, and we'll get you a great guest. Maybe not as good as Morgan, but we'll work on it in a couple weeks, the day before the Purdue Marshall football game. Have a great couple weeks, and we'll look forward to seeing you 2 weeks from today on Gold and Black Live.